Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here on our YouTube channel today. We are doing our first filmmaker interviews for our Toronto Liftoff Film Festival. So we have three filmmakers waiting in the wings today, talking about their specific projects that are currently screening with us at Liftoff, but also more about sort of career progression and career goals. We've loved doing these. We started doing these with our previous festival, and it's been so nice hearing different experiences. And it's something we always say at Liftoff, just how much everybody can learn from each other. So, yeah, we've been really enjoying these, and thank you, anybody who's been watching them. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the live chat. So, if you have got any questions for any of our filmmakers or all of our filmmakers, do fire away and I will pass your questions on. But without further ado, I think it is time to head over and meet our filmmakers today. So, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us. If we start off by introducing yourselves, so your name, the role in your project, and of course the project that's currently screening in the festival. Aidan, if we kick off with you.
Okay, hi, I'm Aidan Scrimger. I'm the writer, director, and editor of A Journey for Virtue.
So, hey, I'm Sean Bryan from Dublin, and I'm also writer, director, and editor of Scarlet.
I'm Lindsay. I'm from Toronto, and I am the director of I'm an Iraqi Jew.
Nice. Well, it's cool to have two of you from Toronto here joining us. Makes me feel a little bit more like if I close my eyes, I could be at our live festival. So we have two of you from the emerging talents, but could we also say, Sean, what about your film?
My film, so it's a dark fantasy horror film about a guy named Craig who seeks revenge on a vampire named Scarlet. It has elements of like suspense thriller as well.
Amazing. Was this your first project, though? What number project was this?
This would be my second project. My last project was entitled Tack Bear, and it was also a thriller. Kind of had horror vibes.
Very cool, guys. Do you want to just run us through the logline of your project? So just give us sort of like a very quick rundown of what the film's about, starting with you, Aidan.
Sure. So my film is about this man. He's in his early 20s, and the film starts off. He's in his apartment, and he's in his head. He's troubled by his demons. So something happens, and he is shown a path to a new state of mind, and on that journey for virtue, he's got to figure out whether that path will be for better or for worse.
Nice. And Sean, you kind of ran us through your project there. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Don't think so. I think I said everything, I think.
Okay, cool. Lindsay, a little bit about your project.
Yeah, so my film is called I'm an Iraqi Jew, and it's actually about my grandfather, and it's talking about how he grew up in Iraq in the 20s to the 40s, and then the pogrom in Iraq happened, so he had to leave. And it talks about his journey to living in Toronto and how he kind of carry on his traditions from Iraq to Toronto.
Ah, nice. We do see a fair amount of like personal stories at Liftoff, and I always think it's so nice because you can feel like the love and the heart that gets put into those. Amazing. Okay, guys, well, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over now to audio only, so that we give this the best chance of the audio stream coming through perfectly clear. So thank you so much, and we'll now continue like a radio interview. So if you want to, guys, turn off. Amazing. Okay, cool. So, Aidan, if we now sort of move on a bit, could you talk to us a little bit about any obstacles, especially this being your first film? I'm guessing it was a steep learning curve. It often is. Any things that you either like weren't expecting or something that you had to change direction on, anything like that?
Well, yeah. So, I've made, tons of like shorts in the past, just like for fun.
Sure.
But this one was, my first like real big one, because this was actually my submission for college. So I had to follow a theme. So I couldn't choose a theme by myself. So the theme for this year's submitters was trust. So I had to make sure to implement that in. So I had to write around that theme. I didn't have like a full creative grasp on what I wanted to do, but I thought what I wrote, the theme trust, was pretty good. And the maximum runtime had to be 2 minutes, so I had to work in that guideline. But what I wrote, I think, really worked within the 2 minutes, because I think if it was any longer, it would have been a little rough, or if it was any shorter, it would have been a little rushed as well. And I think another problem I had was originally for the space background in my film. I was originally gonna have it as like green screen, but I really wasn't liking how it looked, so I had to reshoot the whole middle part of the film. And then as an alternative, me and my brother built. No, we didn't build. We made a space set by getting some bed sheets and then putting some lights on, just so it would look like space. And then we had a remote, so the stars can twinkle with how the character's emotions were. So whenever he was scared, they would start blinking really fast, or whenever they were calm, they would start slowing down. So I think some of the technical stuff, like with making a new set, and then with the VFX, was probably the most challenging part with that.
Did you have any previous experience in this before, or was this like a completely new element?
Well, like I said before, I've made a whole bunch of stuff just for fun and posted it on YouTube when I was like super little, but I think this was my first thing I really took seriously, and it turned out I was really proud of it.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I meant in terms of, because you were talking about like the VFX and the set
Right.
design and stuff like that. Was that something that you'd sort of turned your hand to before?
Oh, no, no, yeah, this was the first one where I actually knew I had to have like a set. I couldn't just go outside or somewhere in my house. So I knew I had to either do it with green screen or make it myself. And I think it was way better when I did it for myself. So
Sure. Yeah, it's so often the case, I think, when people like embark on one of their first sort of like proper, in inverted commas, like so to speak, projects, and they suddenly have to put like so many different hats on, and they're doing all sorts of new things. But I think it's amazing because it's just such a great way of learning exactly what everybody on a film set is doing and sort of understanding their roles. So that's cool that you even got to sort of do the artistic side of things.
yeah.
Anything else? Anything else that sort of you weren't expecting, or something that really didn't go to plan, other than sort of deciding not to use the green screen look?
I think with the music I used, it took me forever to find a non-licensed copyrighted song, because I was really scared, especially for the college submission and just having it out online, that I didn't use anybody else's licensed work. So it took me a while to go around and find a non-copyrighted song that I liked. So that was probably another big obstacle when I was editing, but I was happy with the song I found. I made sure it wasn't copyrighted or anything. So
Really good that you were aware of that, though. We hear horror stories of people using material, not necessarily songs, even anything, archive material that's not theirs. And then it's devastating when they find out that the film can't go on and have a life afterwards because of that, or they have to recut it, or things like that. So, yeah, great to like not make that mistake in the first place.
yeah, no, when I was little, I used to use a whole bunch of copyrighted stuff, so I learned my lesson pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah, at least it is something that once you do, you don't do again.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sort of sharing those insights with us. Sean, what about you? Obstacles that you have overcome either on Scarlet or your first project?
On Scarlet, like the biggest issues that we faced was easily down to budget and also down to timing, and like I mean, like it's a vampire film, so like obviously we were going to have fangs and now we're going to have blood, and all that kind of thing. And a lot of these things were, but they cost a lot of money, and so kind of I had to basically save up my money and be kind of careful about my money. But then as well as that, like I was under pressure to get it done before Halloween, when fangs are at their cheapest and most easiest to come by. And then as well as that, then there's also working around people's availability. So I think time and between time, people's availability, and budget, I think those are easily the three biggest obstacles. Like I think it took a lot of me and Greg's mental energy to get all organised and into pre-production.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. Budget is one that we hear a lot, understandably. I think it's interesting, though, what you say about people's time as well. I think that's especially difficult when you're sort of working on a project where you're asking sort of more of people because maybe people aren't necessarily sort of getting paid a huge amount, things like this when budgets are smaller. But that can in turn make it a lot more difficult to coordinate.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean, I think as well. I think like the way I say it, like if you're working with a lot of people, that spreads out your workload. You know what I mean? Like, because you could have somebody looking after costume design, you could have somebody looking after set design, and then that's a little bit less work on you. You can put your focus into other things, but then it's also at the stake then that you're actually dealing with their availability and all that kind of thing, and working around for them. But then likewise, I mean, if you're working with less people, well, then it means that there's going to be more pressure on you. Like you're going to take on more of the work. Like so I think it's as well as it's a balancing act. Like I think it's comes down to organisation and all that kind of thing.
Greg has just added here, and the lights going out. He said that the lights short-circuited on the Scarlet set.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. Yeah, lights went out on Scarlet as well. Like we basically blew a fuse on set, and we were working on our LEDs and unlimited battery for like camera and all that kind of thing. And then like some of our actors were saying that they can't reschedule, and so it was just a whole lot of stress, and we basically just had to like work with it. Like our cinematographer Peter was amazing on that day. He's great. I think he's great for thinking on his feet, and we basically just, we had so little time, because this is on our last day shooting in the Ansley house as well, where we were shooting,
Oh, you're giving me flashbacks to when we were on set once with a Lift-Off production support project, and I think it was the last day of the shoot that it suddenly started snowing. And that was not something that we were prepared for, but again, contingency, one of the words that you have to get accustomed to in filmmaking. But oh god, yeah, you just get on with it and deal with it, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it led to some of the strong points in Scarlet as well. Like, I'll give an example. Like, there's one scene where there was supposed to be dialogue in it, and then because we had to cut it right down because of how much pressure we were under, like we ended up figuring out a way to do it without dialogue. And the whole point of the scene really was to establish a power dynamic between Scarlett and Craig. But in hindsight, I think actually worked better than what I had scripted. I think actually worked without dialogue. And that's a big learning curve for me as a screenwriter as well.
So true. It's always amazing when you hear that people say that fairly regularly as well. Like, funny that the X went wrong, but that meant that Z happened and it actually turned out better. I think that's really cool. Oh, we've got a question coming in from Brent saying, Sean, how big was your crew, as in numbers?
All in all, there was there's got a few people involved, but there won't be everybody on set at the same time. So all in all, I'd be dealing with about 10 people at a time. Between cast and crew. There was myself, there was Greg, Nina, and James, the actors. Harley, the actress, and then Peter, cameraman, and then the two guys in sound, Eden and Liam. And then then I had other people from my college course coming in as grips too.
Cool. What about you, Aidan and Lindsay? Aidan, how many people were on your set for A Journey for Virtue? Aiden? Have we got Lindsay? In the meantime,
Oh.
Oh, here we go. We've got Aiden back. Aiden,
Yeah.
how many people were on your set?
Well, it was really funny. So it was just me and my two brothers. So we kind of split everything. I had to do most of it since it was for a college submission, but I got them to help me. So I wrote it and edited it and directed it, and then my second oldest brother, he did the cinematography and framing, and then my youngest brother, he was in it. He was the younger version of myself. I was also I had to be in it, so he was the younger version of myself, and he helped hold up the space set. So it was just us bouncing around and just hanging out, making the short.
Oh, I love that. Proper family fair. And how ideal that you've got your younger brother playing your younger self. That's
Yeah,
solid casting.
it was the only alternative. I only did that because everyone says we always look so much alike, so I thought it would have worked pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Lindsay, what about you? How many people were on set?
I also had a very, very small set. It was just me and then one of my very good friends, Mike Alves, who was my animator. So we were the main crew, just us two. And then I had my brother as a voiceover as well. So it's a very small crew.
No.
I feel like I was boasting now.
Okay, so thanks guys for sort of like looking back over at those projects and the things that you've overcome. Looking forwards then, if I first ask you very quickly and then we'll go into it slightly more specifically, where would you want to be in terms of your filmmaking careers, let's say 5 years from now? Aiden, what's the dream?
Well, I want to continue making shorts for quite a while, until I'm ready to do a feature. But since I'm going to college starting in the fall, I'm really just looking to build connections and meet as many people as possible so I can get like a solid circle and have as many friends in the field as I can, ranging from, sound editing, because I'm not really a big editing guy. So, sound editing, cinematography, actors. I just want to get super involved in all that stuff and, have a super wide circle of a whole bunch of cool people. So I just want to keep making as many shorts as I can for the next few years to come. And then whenever I do have to make a feature, I'll have enough experience so I can be ready and I know how to tackle certain obstacles and stuff. So yeah, that's where I want to be. Just continue making shorts until I know I'm ready to make my first feature. But short films is the only, big thing on my mind for right now. And I want to try and find my own style and my own voice too. So I think I'm getting there, but I definitely need a few more years to figure myself out a little bit more.
That's such a good answer. I mean, shorts are just such an amazing way of doing exactly what you've just said. I couldn't put it any better. But then they're also really powerful as well as like creating your portfolio to then go forwards, especially if you're then going to start looking for things like pitching for finance or even pitching for people, like pitching to have a producer on board or anything. Looking back at a super solid collection is so important, rather than trying to jump ahead too soon and finding it a very steep upward battle. I think that sounds really cool. What have you got in the pipeline at the moment? Anything that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I have something in development right now. I wanted to do something sort of out of my range, I guess. It's kind of like a horror type. It's called Deer Meat. That'll start production soon. There has to be like, actual costumes, and we're making like a deer head from scratch. So I wanted to do that for that kind of challenge to see if I can, swerve around that and actually get it made instead of just like, oh, I can't do it. I'm going to do something else. So I really want to focus on getting that done. And then I think the filming process will be really cool. And then I have a little passion project coming up with my brother who helped me on a journey for virtue. It's an animated short, and I have no idea when it would be out, but sometime in the summer next year, I think. So that's like the super big project that's coming. But other than that, just live action shorts for fun, and then probably for school. But Deer Meat, which is my next short coming out, hoping for the end of the year. But yeah, that's the only thing I have my eyes on right now.
Very cool. What's the style of animation, or is it all very too early to sort of say or give us any details?
Well, we're doing testing right now because he hasn't really done anything like too heavy in animation yet. So we're looking at a whole bunch of 2D animation. Like we're trying to look at how characters move in different art styles. So we're looking at various like Studio Ghibli movies, or we're looking at some Cartoon Network shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe, just to see what would be easier for our first animation project, so we wouldn't run into any difficulties. So we're not doing like 60 FPS, super smooth, running around the whole screen type of animation yet. We're just going to keep it simple with
Sure.
simple landscapes
Yeah.
and character movements and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that sounds very exciting, though. We keep saying it on here, but we are big fans of animation here at Liftoff. Our general manager, Natalie, absolutely loves it. So we'd love to see it when you're done.
Yeah, we're hoping to get it in next year's Toronto Liftoff as well.
Oh, amazing. We will stay tuned for that. Cool. Thank you. So, Sean, what about you? If we go back to the broad question to begin with, where do you want to be 5 years from now in your filmmaking career? It's a big question, I know.
Like Aidan, I am trying to take my time, before I make a feature length, and I don't really have any. I'm not really trying to put a timeline on how long I'll be making short films or anything like that. I'm kind of just taking it like one thing at a time, just see how just see, do I feel ready, but at the moment I don't feel ready. But myself and Greg are, we have ideas for other projects coming up the pipeline, and we have some interesting ideas about promotion, more kind of strategic in our promotion and in our kind of interaction with the audience in our upcoming projects. So I'll be doing that on the side, and then also try and pursue my degree, and of course hopefully down the line I'll get funding. I imagine I'll probably like to get funding to do a short film first before I ever get funding for a feature length, so I could I suppose kind of start small.
So applying for funding schemes, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that not something you've tried for either of the first two projects?
Oh no. Like both Tech and Scarlet were both made without any budget, other than what was just literally forked in my pocket, so.
Sure, of course. I mean, it's an interesting one, and we always love hearing our feedback from filmmakers. If anybody ever has any experiences of different funds or things like that, we love hearing about it and sort of sharing that information and knowledge, because it's not an easy task, I know, but there are some great ones out there, and it's just sort of about doing your research and looking at what fits for the sort of criteria and the sort of film that you want to make.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I love the whole process. I mean, as much as I'd complained about pre-production, I love the whole process from pre-production to production to post-production, and I want to, I suppose, I want to, at least for the next project or next two projects, just kind of keep at that before I work on a funded, on a bigger kind of funded set with dozens of people and all that kind of thing. So.
Sure, amazing. Well, just Greg says that funding is a bit scarce in Ireland, and yeah, funding can be a bit scarce everywhere, especially at the moment. And I know obviously after Brexit we had different sort of tax schemes falling through a little bit, but I mean that's why one of the things that we know a lot of people look at is things like co-productions. That's another thing we talk about a lot at Liftoff, where if you're in co-production with different places, you get all sorts of different tax refunds, breaks, depending on different criteria, and they can be really high. So if funding is really, really limited over there, it could well be worth looking into different co-productions where you could recuperate some of those costs. Just a thought. Before I go on to Lindsay, though, I just want to remind people who are watching, if you do have any questions for our filmmakers, fire away and I will pass them on before the session's over. But thanks a lot, Sean. And Lindsay, What about you? What's like the big career dream?
Yeah, just kind of similarly to Sean and Aiden, I think it's I just want to try and establish myself more as a filmmaker in the next few years, and try and tell as many stories as I can through film, and continue to make things that I care about. And yeah, trying to find my own style and figure out how I can stand out in the filmmaking industry. And I think kind of the best thing I can do to get to that is just continue to be creative and continue to produce new content on all scales, whether they be shorts or even slightly longer films as well. And I think it'd also be really important to try and work with as many people as possible, to try and learn what their filmmaking process is, so I can learn from them and hopefully apply it to my filmmaking.
Amazing, very cool. Specifically, any projects upcoming? Anything in the pipeline?
I have a project that I've kind of got the idea for last year, and I'm still in pre-production, just trying to work out the logistics of it because it's kind of experimental, but I'm hoping to get that in production soon, hopefully after all this COVID stuff is
Well, it's
done.
funny you say that. We've got a question from Aaron in the chat here saying, how is COVID affecting everyone? Melbourne and most of Australia, it has been hit, and the government has pulled all funding today. Oh. I mean, if I sort of answer first from a UK perspective, the ripples of it are definitely being felt in the industry. Certainly in terms of our funds and the tax funds and that kind of thing. But then we were talking about this before we went live on the interview. I do also think it's important to say that I have heard some really positive stories, which has been really nice. People who have finally been able to sort of sit down and work on that script that's been in their head for years, or have finally been able to revisit old rushes and edit together something actually quite cool. So I always want to try and like remember the sort of positive stories I've heard too. But it certainly is tough, and I definitely hope that the sort of financing side of the industry is able to rebuild once we kind of move past this towards some normalcy again. What do you guys think? Do any of you have any thoughts on, did it affect any of you directly with a project?
I didn't get directly affected by it, although I do know, especially when it first started, everything got shut down, and especially a lot of freelancers were just trying to find work, and that was not really possible for them. So things are just starting to open up now, and productions are starting to go on just with lots of precautions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some ADR to do for Scarlett, and we had to wait until until restrictions eased a little bit in Ireland, and that was a bit of a tedious wait, and so I think it definitely slowed things down a little bit for Scarlett, and then also for my college projects that I've been working on as well, which I'm hoping to get finished in the coming weeks.
Sure. What about you, Aiden? Were you affected by it at all?
Not A Journey for Virtue specifically. I shot the first half around Christmas time in 2019, and then I did the reshoots with the practical set in January. But I think for like future projects, like especially when it started getting bad in March, a whole bunch of opportunities were shut down because you couldn't really go anywhere. And where I am in Canada right now, like a whole bunch of different places are in different phases of reopening. So like I couldn't go to Toronto, for example, for something, or I couldn't go into another city because they might be on phase 2 while we're on phase 3 of reopening. So it's just kind of managing everywhere where people are, in what kind of phase they're in, I guess. So you gotta, plan that stuff out more.
Yeah, sure. Brent has just said that in New Zealand they go back to level 2 and 3 today. Oh, but yeah, there are positive things. We've definitely seen sort of, shooting here at Pinewood has sort of started commencing again slowly. They're about to. So Fingers crossed. Just to end on a question that I know we didn't say we would, and it's such a hard question, but any thoughts would be appreciated. Aidan, what would you say is your either favourite director or the director that like has inspired you the most in terms of wanting to go into film?
Well, recently I've been on a Stanley Kubrick binge and a Hayao Miyazaki binge.
Nice.
I've been trying to get their filmographies down. So I think right now is it's them two, just because I think they definitely have some of the best filmographies ever. You know, Stanley Kubrick obviously, but I think Hayao Miyazaki especially is probably one of the best animators of all time, and he's definitely a big influence for one of my next projects coming up. But I think the thing that's influenced me the most is Richard Linklater's Boyhood. That film really, showed me that, because it came out when I was around in the seventh grade, and it kind of opened the doors for me in showing me how you can tell stories with such a small cast and such a small environment. So I think that film really sparked my interest in wanting to tell really small human stories. So I think if anything, it would probably be that film.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Sean, what about you? Biggest inspiration to date? What a question, sorry.
Well, my favourite directors of all time would include Christopher Nolan, David Fincher, Tarantino, and Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese. I can't really tell you off the top of my head which one of those, or if any of those like specifically influenced me in my filmmaking. But like they are my favorite films. I mean, like among my favorite films is Dunkirk by Nolan. Like I think it was experimental in a sort of way. I think it's just amazing. I think it brought filmmaking up to another level. Like and I just think I kind of I envy Tarantino's ability to write great dialogue and all that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. What a film as well, Dunkirk. Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
Lindsay, what about you? Favorite director?
I would say probably some of my favorite directors are like Edgar Wright or Paul Thomas Anderson and Wes Anderson. I really like their style of filmmaking. But I would say probably the director that inspired me to start filmmaking was probably Sofia Coppola. And just through watching Lost in Translation, I remember watching it when I was very, very young, and it kind of showed me how beautiful films can be. So that really inspired me to
Do you know,
start.
one of my colleagues here at Liftoff often cites that as one of her favourite films.
Yeah.
It is. It's stunning.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh. Well, I don't think we've got any more questions in the chat. Aaron just saying about how he's having to rehearse via Zoom. I've heard some things like that. Best of luck with it. But thank you for being here and engaging with us. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to talk to us. It's been so interesting hearing about your previous projects and sort of what you've got planned next. Definitely stay in touch with us. We'd love to see what comes next from you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Toronto Liftoff Film Festival.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yes, stay in touch. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye. Did you want to, sorry, I know one of you, did you want to add anything? I know, Sean, you said you wanted to do a shout out. I've just remembered.
Oh, well, yeah, I'd just like to give a general shout out to, to all the cast and crew of Scarlet. So I'd like to shout out to Greg, to Peter, Eden, Liam, Nina, Harley, James, and Lee. I really hope I'm not forgetting anybody there. The music guys, Tig and David. And then I'd like to thank everybody who's voted for it so far, and I'd like to thank everybody who's watching and giving feedback. And that's it, I think.
Oh, nice. Lindsay, did you have any final comments or anything?
Yeah, sure. I'll give a shout out to my animator, Michael Alves, for kind of supporting me throughout the whole thing, even though we didn't have a lot of time to do what we wanted to do. And yeah, just thank you to everyone for voting. It's really been appreciating all the support.
Oh, nice. And Aidan?
Well, yeah, if we're giving shout outs, I'll give a big thank you to my little brother Nolan for holding up the space set and sitting in the snow for 20 minutes smiling for 100 different takes as I told him to do it 100 times. And then for my other brother, Devin, for sitting behind the camera and watching me fake walk through space. So
Oh, thank you so much. And just before I say goodbye to you all, Lindsay, Aaron has said here, great to see a passionate female director too. So, yeah, love that, and thank you. And thank you,
Thanks.
Aaron. Well, yeah, thank you so much, guys, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
So there we had it. It was really nice to hear from those guys. I saw a few questions in the chat about asking how to participate in these interviews. What we do is we kind of select people that we see engaging on this. So in terms of what's coming up next, we've also got our second voting roundup on Friday. So do join us for that. That will be 1 p.m. BST, where we'll be looking at sort of the big movers and people currently in the top positions on each of the 4 programs. So do say hi to us if you're watching from there, and on Friday we'll send out some more invites for people who are participating in Toronto to be our next interviewees. But that's everything for me from now, and thank you again to our 3 filmmakers for this week. Thanks a lot, everyone.